Hey friends, welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a review of the Oysi Street Frames. In today's video, I'm going to give you an overview of the frames, tell you the things that I like about the frames, things that I don't like, maybe don't prefer, my final impressions, and then who I think this frame is best for. So this frame is relatively new. It came out in July of 2024, and it is designed by Wish. And if you're not familiar with Wish, they make some really popular flat frames. And then they made it specifically for FR, which is a skate manufacturer. And now they kind of have their own frame that pairs with their skates. So this runs about $70 brand new, and it's about $10 cheaper than the Wish medium frames. So this comes in 3 different lengths. They sell them in 275 millimeter, 260 millimeter, and 241 millimeter. And the one that I have on here is the 260 millimeter, and that is on a 42.5 rollerblade blank shell, just so you can get a comparison of how that frame lines up with this boot. The manufacturer details on the website claim that this frame can hold up to 60 millimeters flat. I'll talk more about that later. And then it also gives you an option to ride anti-rocker, which you can use bigger wheels on the outside. And depending on, what skate you're riding it with and the frame length, you can go up to a bigger wheel. So they claim that you could use like a 62, 65, or 72. I would recommend just checking out the Wish website to find out more information on that if you're looking at using anti-rocker. So this is the magenta color. It comes in 3 different colors. You got the magenta, black, white. I opted for magenta. And then, it comes with all the hardware that you need. So all the hardware, the frame bolts, come in different lengths depending on so it gives you more customization depending on the brand of skate you're riding. And then comes with all the axles. And then the if you're not familiar with Wish, the frame bolts actually are more flat profile, so then it allows the top of the head to have more clearance, so you can just ride bigger wheels without the wheel scraping the bolt. And then, I've got the Wish medium frames here. So just kind of want to give you guys side-by-side comparison. So, that's comparison for the H block. And you can see that the H block for the medium is a lot blockier, and you have more room in the H block because it's a little wider. And then the frame itself is a little more tall than the new FR Wish frame. And then I've got the Icon AG60 frame, which, when you look at it, is very, very similar. The FR Street frame does have more wheel bite protection just kind of on the sides. It does have just a little bit wider and a little bit deeper of an H block, too. So just a little comparison there, and then the frame height is about the same for both of these. All right, let's go over the things that I really like about these frames. So first off, really like the color. Never seen a magenta color like this on a frame, and I just absolutely loved it because it's a nice subtle pop to your setup without being super flashy or super in your face, in my opinion. One thing that I really liked on this is the wheel bite protection. I think I only got wheel bite 1 time, and I've been riding them for 4 months, and that was doing a Royale on my first session, but I'll get into why that session was a little squirrelier later in this video. So wheel bite protection, phenomenal. It's rare because I never skated flat growing up or my early days of skating. And, whenever I did try flat, I would just get wheel bite, eat shit. So if I can skate flat and not get wheel bite, I think that is a huge testament to how good of the wheel protection is in these frames. One thing that I like too is the tolerance on the frames is really good. I had no struggle getting wheels in or out. One of the issues that a lot of people have with the Icon frames was just how much of a pain it is and how easy it is to damage bearings, wheels, trying to get those in and out, and no issues with this. And so, I think that really talks to the quality of the manufacturing with how easy it is to assemble and disassemble without having problems. One thing that I like compared to the Wish medium frames is on the Wish medium, it's got the plastic basically extends closer to the ground. So when you turn, that frame basically drags on the ground and could cause you to slide out. On this, you don't have that. So, I never had an issue with turning, sliding out, frame dragging on the ground. And I think, that is a really good design and an improvement over the Wish medium frames. On the Wish medium, that was a really easy thing to just kind of grind it down a little bit so you didn't drag. But still, if you take like a super steep turn, you can still hit it. These, I never had that problem. I really liked the quality of the hardware. You can always tell, what's good hardware and not by when you use your tools. If you start to see the metal deform at all as you use it. And these, rotating wheels and pulling axles in and out to cleaning bearings, never had an issue. So, really good high quality axles and frame bolts that come with it. Another thing that I like is I feel like you get a lot of frame for the price point on this. So with it being a flat frame, you can basically hold 4 wheels all of the same diameter without, having to mismatch wheel sizes like you do on the medium or the Wish medium or Wish classic frames. And then, so I think that's really good. So it's great hardware, great frame, really good price point. Another thing to note is the frame walls are relatively thick and they have the cross channels in there, and you've got a lot of plastic creating just a really nice structure to the frame. So that means that when you're skating, taking landings, it doesn't flex or bend or bow or twist at all. So that means it's really good for energy transfer and stiffness. And I found that was really good with skating, as it didn't flex or give way at all. One thing that I like about these frames in comparison to like the Wish medium frames is because they hold smaller wheels and the frame itself is been redesigned. It allows for a lower ride height, which I think is good because that gives you maybe it's more maneuverability, but also I don't know. I've just never been one for riding really big wheels when skating. So for me, that's just something that I liked, is that feeling that you're a little lower to the ground. One improvement they made with these is if you've ever installed the spacers on the Wish medium frames, it can be really cumbersome because the tolerance is so tight. With this frame, all the spacers popped in really easy, didn't have any problems, so that was really nice. Again, like that it has the option for all the same wheel size, and then it also has an option for the anti-rocker. I personally didn't opt for the anti-rocker option because I felt like I didn't need it. The wheel bite protection, riding 4 months, it still felt really, really good. And, I've heard some people say that these frames wear down relatively quick, like if you're riding street. I went out and skated some concrete ledges one session, and from that session I didn't notice a lot of excessive wear. I usually am skating park, with rails, coping ledges, coping transition, that sort of stuff, and I didn't really have a problem with how that felt skating. or the wear on it. So I personally thought, these were fine and they held up well. Just kind of my 2 cents. So let's talk about some of the things that I maybe didn't like or didn't prefer, and let's kick it off by talking about the wheel size. So the manufacturer, FR, claims you can have up to a 60 millimeter flat wheel in these. I disagree. Let me tell you why. So my first session, if you watch that video, I was having a hard time picking up speed and just turning, and I just felt off that day. Second session, I went out there and I started having the same thing, and so I was just curious, took the skate off and was looking around to see what was going on, and I noticed the outside wheels, span just fine. The inside wheels were dragging. As you can see here, spins easy, drags. And, as I turn this, I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds like the wheel is dragging on something. And, just since I put this wheel on, you can see this white line that's kind of developed, just since I put it back on. And, so I started looking into it more. And what I found is that the frame bolts that come stock with the frame on both my AG15s and the rollerblade blanks hangs off the edge of the wheel well. So if you look inside this frame, you can see that there's like this curved piece of the wheel well. And what I found is that the wheel at 60 millimeters is actually catching on the edge of that frame bolt and basically not letting the wheel spin. I've noticed some other people commenting online about this too. And so I would say that riding these with 60 millimeter flat is going to be a gamble, and it could possibly change skate to skate depending on how tight the frame bolt tolerances are. But I wouldn't go any larger than like 58 or 59 if you want to guarantee that the wheels will work for this frame, and that's a flat setup. So, I think that's something that, FR either needs to adjust the protection for the frame bolt, or they need to advertise a smaller wheel size, because from my experience, I couldn't get 60 to work without having to change out the wheels or potentially wearing down 60 millimeter wheels enough so they don't drag. Just my experience on that. One thing I noticed too is the H block. It is just a little deeper and a little narrower than the FR Wish frame. And I'm one of those skaters who don't land everything 90 degrees when I'm doing H block tricks, and I have some what's the best way to say it, torquing. So some of my tricks I do at a little bit of an angle, and when I first started skating them, it felt just a little uncomfortable. It didn't feel like I was landing naturally, and it took me a little bit of breaking in the frames to be able to get that to feel natural. But once I did, they felt really good. But just want to point that out, is even though it's a big H block, if you have a unique way of doing tricks, that's something you're going to have to break in. But mainly just describing it so you can be aware of it if you do skate like that. Given this day and age, it's one of the things I'm not the biggest fan of, is if you have double Allen key axles. Especially if it's a new frame, they could have easily keyed a new had a one-sided axle with these. It's a minor nitpick. It's more of a convenience thing. But I personally like it because it makes maintenance easier, but also by locking the axle in, it helps keep it from spinning and loosening up, so it's less to worry about when you are skating. Let's see. Plastic, I didn't feel like it wore down very much, but I did feel like it was a little slower when compared to some other frames I've ridden. And, I think they are a little slower than the Wish medium frames, but my understanding is that FR is doing their own production on these. So it could be like a different plastic makeup. And then I also thought they were a little slower than the Icon AG60s. And then, one other thing I noticed is that, because of the plastic on it, you get a lot of wax that likes to stick to it and build up because, especially on H-block. I scraped a bunch off this morning, but that H-block kind of sits down lower than the edges. So it's just a place where you build up a lot of wax. And I personally don't like a lot of wax buildup because I feel like it slows you down. So something to keep in mind is if you do get a lot of buildup, you may need to just scrape it off. So what are my final thoughts on these frames? Overall, I think this is a really good flat frame for the price. I think it has a good price point and you get a good quality frame. I like this about the same as the Wish Medium and the Icon AG60s. However, I would note that this frame does, to me, feel like it has some more wheel bite protection. So if you're looking for some extra protection, this one may be the better frame choice for you. And then, I like the H-block on the Wish Medium just a little more than this one because it's just a little wider and feels more like an anti-rocker frame because of how much more protection it has. But, there are trade-offs because this sits lower to the ground and then you have the ability to skate all the same wheel size. So if that's something you're looking for, something to consider. And then one of the things that I realized with these frames is just how much fun they make skating. And usually with flat frames, I'm really paranoid about getting wheel bite, and so I'm like hyper focused. And with these, I noticed that I worry less about that. And I'm just having a lot of fun out there skating and just enjoy what I do, the way that I skate with these frames, which I think is important. And then, one thing to know, I didn't feel the need to try the anti-rocker on these just because they had so much good wheel bite protection as is. But I do like that the option is there if you're looking for a flat frame that is supposed to work well with anti-rocker. This option is there. Okay, so who do I think this frame is best for? Honestly, I think this frame is good for anybody who is looking for a flat frame that has solid H-block wheel bite protection. I think this is good for anybody who wants to try flat but has the option to try it with anti-rocker too. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with one frame in case you don't like skating one way or the other. And then, I would say that this is also for someone who wants some of the benefits of a Wish frame, but also wants to skate all the same wheel size. This is the perfect hybrid of those two frames. So who is this frame not for? Honestly, I think that there's probably only one person that this frame is not for, and that is someone who pays a lot of attention to the weight of their skates and they want the minimalist amount of plastic, they want the lightest frames and still the ability to skate flat. This frame's probably not for you just because this does have additional plastic, for the wheel bite protection and also to make a really solid, sturdy frame. So, if you're looking at cutting out weight, probably not the best frame for you. Well, that wraps up today's review. If you've ridden these frames or you got any questions or comments, feel free to drop me a line on this review video and I will do my best to get back to you. Thanks all for checking in, and we'll catch you next time.